I was the CEO's secret lover for 5 years, never expecting he'd actually get married. After quitting, I immediately blocked him. Yet he showed up looking wronged. 5 years, and you still won't give me a proper title? What? He's marrying me? Subscribe now, the story begins. Bring me the third stock report and the new trade development contract from the last meeting. Dressed in a sharp suit and sporting a Patek Philippe luxury watch, Valor commanded me with an unquestioning tone. I nodded. Got it. Then I turned and walked briskly away, executing his orders without delay. After handing him the contract, I stood by. His gaze suddenly fell on me, looking so tired. Didn't sleep well last night? I smiled. Wasn't it all because of you? Thank you for your concern, President. It's nothing serious. It won't affect my work. My words were extremely polite. After all, I was just an unofficial mistress. At the company, we always maintained a strictly professional relationship. Nothing serious, he murmured the words, their meaning unclear. Then it's very serious indeed. I didn't grasp the implication then, but by nightfall, it dawned on me, he was a beast. Later, I pressed my cheek softly against his chest, listening to his steady heartbeat. I heard you're getting married? His hand cradled my head, gently guiding it back onto the pillow. He lit a cigarette, and the tobacco scent instantly filled the room. Just that one word. Nothing more. I picked up the underwear scattered on the floor and, under his gaze, put each piece back on. Our relationship ends here. If you two actually get married, you'll be protected by law. Illegal activities aren't worth the trouble. He remained silent. After putting on the last piece of clothing, I slowed my pace. He hadn't called me even as I reached the doorway, so I had to speak up. After all this time with Mr. Valor, you won't leave me with nothing after we break up, will you? Please, just give me 10 million so I can get the hell out of here. He finished his cigarette and stubbed it out in the ashtray. First thing tomorrow morning, submit your resignation to HR and collect your severance from finance. Valor was Valor, decisive, unforgiving of old ties. But even if he hadn't asked me to resign, I would have left. All right. I left his residence without hesitation. Early the next morning, I handed in my resignation at HR. They were shocked by my sudden departure. After all, I'd been with Valor for 5 years. It was hard to believe I'd just walked out like that. After exchanging pleasantries, I practically jogged to the finance department. I had no idea how much he'd give me, enough to live the rest of my life as a spendthrift. But he'd always been generous with women, otherwise, I wouldn't have stayed with him. Yet when I received my payslip, my eyes nearly popped out of my head. Only 25,000? Is there something wrong with this payslip? Alice from finance took it and glanced at it. Shouldn't be wrong. That's your regular pay, isn't it, Angelina? But, I caught myself. Could you double check? Or maybe the president has other instructions, like, a little extra severance? Alice opened her computer to verify while teasing me, Miss Angelina, you've been with the company for 5 years. When did we ever have severance pay? But I couldn't laugh. I'd followed him for 5 years, could he really be this heartless? Not a penny to spare? During the minutes Alice verified the statement, my emotions rode a roller coaster. I reached a conclusion, if he truly gave me nothing, I'd tear up the contract. Whether by acting like a spoiled brat or throwing a tantrum, I'd get my money. Alice looked up at me. My heart pounded nervously as she said, the pay stub is correct. The funds should already be in Miss Angelina's account. I clenched my fists. Valor, you're ruthless. Got it, I replied flatly, but instead of leaving the office, I headed straight for the CEO's suite. When I pushed open the door, Valor was sitting there reviewing contracts. His talent was formidable, he always pinpointed the most promising stocks with precision and ruthlessness, making him a dark horse in the investment world. What impressed me even more than his skills, however, was his face, a divine visage so captivating that one glance could leave you utterly ensnared. So if he wouldn't give me the money, I'd tear that face apart. Boss. I stepped before him. He merely gave me a fleeting glance before returning to the contract. I went to finance today. Only this month's salary is available. And what did you expect? He didn't even lift his head, his tone flat. Suppressing my anger, I told myself not to act impulsively. I needed answers first. What about the past 5 years I spent as your mistress? What about that money? He finally closed the contract and looked up at me. His eyes were so deep and unfathomable that I lost all my nerve. He opened a desk drawer, pulled out several dimes and nickels, and flipped them onto the table. Are you trying to bribe a beggar? He snorted derisively, removed his gold-rimmed glasses, and fixed me with a piercing stare. Who agreed to break up with you? I was momentarily speechless. In his presence, I always felt inferior, unable to match his intensity. You're getting married and still won't break up? You're a scumbag. The words left my mouth, and I immediately regretted them. What kind of nonsense was I spouting? I wasn't here to make a joke. He lit a cigarette, took a deep drag, and abruptly stood up. I flinched reflexively. His polished black shoes stepped over the chair, advancing toward me step by step. Finally, he looked down at me from above. Who exactly did I screw over? I stood frozen, taking countless shallow breaths. So he wanted to marry someone else while keeping me on the side? Dream on. I was done with this. Anyway, HR had finalized my resignation paperwork. He wasn't my boss anymore. What did I have to fear? I unleashed a torrent of accusations. You're not just a jerk, you're a pervert. Not only did you bite me until I was covered in bruises, but you left love bites on my neck every single time. I had no choice but to tell my coworkers I have self-harm tendencies. You wanted to play both sides? Well, you're not getting a seat on my boat. You know why I made you smoke more when we were together? It wasn't because I liked the smell of tobacco. It was so you'd ruin your lungs and lose 10 years off your life. Valor looked down at the cigarette in his hand. He flicked it onto the ground and crushed it underfoot. You hate me that much? I stared at his noble, world-weary face and hesitated for an uncharacteristic moment. He looked as if he'd expected it. Guess I don't hate you that much after all. Give me money. I didn't care anymore. The office had great soundproofing anyway. At this point, I might as well ask outright. He didn't speak. Instead, he sat back elegantly into his exclusive CEO chair and began to appraise me with his gaze. I repeated myself, you have to give me money. Still silent. I planted my hands on my hips, mustered all my strength, and adopted the posture of a proper villainess. If you don't give me money, I threatened, I'll spill everything about us. Then you won't get married either. We'll both go down together. Fine. He actually smiled. The door's over there. Go say it outside. Shameful. I stood frozen in place. He must have known I wouldn't dare speak up. Pervert. Bastard. I cursed for 10 minutes before storming out of the office in a huff. Night had fallen. My best friend Joyce and I sat by the roadside eating barbecue when Joyce's voice exploded. What? Not a single penny? Holy cow, he's no real man. Exactly. Valor's not a real man. I yelled, angrily shoving a piece of meat into my mouth. Joyce took a sip of her drink, but after all these years with him, didn't he ever promise you anything? I thought hard about the past 5 years, then slumped my shoulders in defeat. He promised me a check. A check? That's not bad. With his connections, he could have cashed it for you. It was a bad check. He said he'd pay me in checks when he had time. Wah. I grabbed a bottle of beer from the table, downed half in one gulp, and wiped away my tears of frustration. Joyce sighed beside me as I finished, occasionally urging me to accept my misfortune. After all, I was alone and powerless. If Valor truly didn't want to give me a cent, forcing the issue would only hurt myself in the end. But I refused to accept it. The alcohol made my head spin, unleashing my frustration and resentment to the fullest. what about my 5 years of youth? If he treated me like a lover, doesn't he owe me for those 5 years? He could refuse to pay. If he considered me his girlfriend, he could withhold money. But he just announced he was getting married? And I only found out about his wedding from others. When I confronted him, that bastard made me quit my job and get lost. Is that how you treat a girlfriend? I get it now. I mean nothing to him. Just a free ride. I downed the last half bottle of beer in one gulp. He has to pay me. If he doesn't, I'll make him admit in front of the whole company that I was his girlfriend. How else can he make up for those 5 years? Joyce didn't agree with my plan. We downed glass after glass as she tried to talk me out of it. Forget it, she urged. You can't win against him. Use that time to find a job instead. Don't waste your energy on something that won't change a thing. My face was flushing, my thoughts growing hazy, but I kept ranting on, fueled by resentment. Honestly, in our circle of executive assistants, Valor's the worst at this kind of thing. A shadow suddenly fell over my head. A familiar scent grew stronger, followed by a pair of cool, slender hands covering mine. It's 9 o'clock. We have a curfew at home. I froze. Valor had once set a rule: unless work required it, I had to be home by 9. Of course, for some reason, he'd started following it himself when he wasn't working. Once, stuck in traffic, he was 10 minutes late. The first thing he did when he walked in was apologize. I'd found it amusing back then. But now, hearing this made me furious. I shook off his hand and bellowed across the crowded street stall, "Hey! Got money for a Porsche but can't pay your creditors?" He froze, a flicker of chill passing through his usually unruffled eyes. He clearly hadn't expected me to bring this up so publicly, disregarding my image. All eyes in the vicinity turned our way, whether intentionally or not. "You're drunk," he said, his voice tinged with irritation. But I was angrier than he was. My palm slammed down on the table with a loud smack, making the empty bottles rattle. Clatter! Mind your own business about whether I'm drunk. Transfer the money now. Or this isn't over. How much do you want? He grabbed my arm to stop me from making more noise. I smirked triumphantly. Sure enough, once the mask was off, the one feeling guilty was him. I held up 5 fingers in front of his face. 5 years, 5 million. Not unreasonable, right? He tightened his grip on my hand, pulled out his phone, and made a call. She's drunk. Transfer 5 million to her. After hanging up, he calmly surveyed the mess I'd become. It'll clear shortly. I pulled out my phone. Before long, the bank notification arrived as promised. When you're desperate, you're unstoppable, and right now, I felt invincible. But before I could react, he yanked me aside. I struggled desperately. Joyce tried to intervene, but we couldn't match a man's strength. This alcohol had a nasty after effect. You already got your money, why are you dragging me? I shouted, my face flushed. He threatened, Angelina, sober up, or I'll dump you on the street. He practically dragged me along, leaving me too weak to resist, though my mouth kept running. My boss is such a cheapskate. He won't pay me unless I make a scene. Then I felt myself being spun around, probably another Princess Carrie. After walking a bit in his arms, I started fussing again. Valor, I feel sick. I began throwing a tantrum. Hold it in, he ordered. Despite his words, Valor carried me toward the bathroom. But my head was spinning so badly it felt like I could touch the sky. On top of that, I was incredibly hyper. I could feel the beer churning in my stomach like boiling water. I whined pitifully, I need to throw up, I can't hold it in anymore. Hold it in or not, you're holding it in. Angelina, if you dare, ugh, ah, what a relief. It felt like a gentle spring rain. That urgent, unbearable sensation in my stomach vanished, replaced by pure comfort. But for some reason, Valor's clothes felt a bit sticky to the touch. When I woke up again, my head was pounding. It took me half an hour just to slowly open my eyes. I was actually at Valor's place? Soon, the events of last night flashed before my eyes. I couldn't help but cover my face. Oh my God! How could I be so embarrassing? This is bad. I could already picture Valor's disgusted face. Oh my gosh, Angelina, you groveled at work, but after quitting, you actually vomited all over him? No wonder he wasn't home, probably afraid to see me again and be disgusted to death. I quickly cleaned up and bolted out his door. But soon I was at a loss. The Villa district was too remote, no taxis in sight, and I couldn't hail one either. I could only trudge toward where cars were more common. Beep! A honk drew my attention. That Rolls-Royce looked so familiar, 6,699. Wasn't that Valor's car? Oh no. This guy's got a tiny heart. If he catches me alive, he'll torture me to death. I started to run, but stopped after a few steps. First, I couldn't outrun a car. Second, I could just pretend to black out. At least until then, he'd be the one in the wrong. He rolled down the window and gave me a piercing look. My hands clenched nervously as he commanded, "Get in." I forced a casual smirk and adopted a defiant stance. "You'll have to beg me." Whoosh, the car sped away. Gone without a trace. Ugh, this is pretty far from the station. I haven't even been gone 2 minutes. Can I take it back? Forget it. Face reality. If he's got a list of people he hates right now, I'm definitely number one. I opened my mobile banking app and felt a bit better seeing the 5 million yuan resting peacefully inside. So what if I pissed off a guy who wouldn't acknowledge me for 5 years and suddenly wants to marry someone else? As long as I've got money, right? Beep. A car horn sounded behind me, and soon a Ferrari 888 pulled up beside me. As Valor's senior secretary, I recognized the car instantly, though I couldn't help but marvel at how quickly he upgraded his ride. The window rolled down again. His face flickered in and out of light, his mood as unpredictable as ever. "We've got a case to discuss today. Haven't found a new secretary yet. You're coming with me." What annoyed me most was his air of superiority, as if everyone owed him 8 million. I'd already resigned, why should I accompany him to a case meeting? Besides, I'd already received my payment. "I'm sorry, but I've resigned. Accompanying you to a case meeting isn't part of my responsibilities." After politely declining, I started walking. His car slowly followed beside me. "I took you in last night." My heart skipped a beat, and my feet came to an abrupt halt. Realizing my slip, I deliberately crouched down to tie my untied shoelaces, then stood up calmly. "That was very kind of you, but I blacked out and don't remember much." "Where's Joyce? When did she leave yesterday?" "Your friend?" He seemed to be asking himself. Before I could answer, he continued, "When I took you away last night, she got held up by the boss settling the bill. No wonder I hadn't seen Joyce later, she hadn't caught up with us. Get in. I'll drop you off after I finish this contract." He gave me a fleeting glance and added, "I'm handling it myself." I glanced at the distant bus stop, then reluctantly got in. Awkwardness spilled over the screen. He cleared his throat. My eyes shot to him, instantly drawn to the scene, sunlight cascading from midair onto his expensive shirt, bathing him in a soft golden glow. The light fell perfectly on his flawlessly chiseled features, melting away his usual coldness. It was dazzling, impossible to look away. His deep voice carried a hint of pride. "If 5 years isn't enough for you, you could always consider a lifetime." His lips curved upward casually, as if recalling something pleasant. I couldn't manage a smile. I'd fought tooth and nail for that 5 years' worth of money. If I followed him for a lifetime only to be ignored until death, would I have to chase him to the grave for payment? I've seen enough. He grew cold almost instantly, the air thickening around us. "Do you like my money, or me?" His words were met with a deathly silence. "You." I stared straight ahead, my voice flat as if discussing trivial matters. But after years in the corporate world, I learned from Mr. Valor what it means to weigh pros and cons. Since you'll never truly be mine, I must secure the money. Only fools walk away empty-handed. My expression remained composed, yet my heart pounded as if it might leap from my chest. This was the first time I'd admitted my feelings to him, face to face. Even though I'd chosen what I thought was the most graceful way to end it, I couldn't help but feel nervous. His brows lifted, the gloom on his face vanishing instantly. What if he could be yours? I bit my lip, my breath quickening with tension. My hands clenched and unclenched on my knees. What do you mean? With your intelligence, understanding my words shouldn't be difficult. But you're getting married. I still remember that day. I'd been thinking about cooking a special dinner to treat him, only to overhear colleagues discussing his engagement to the heiress of a partner company. And I, the person who'd been by his side day and night, knew nothing about it. In that moment, I finally understood my true role, a secret mistress. Though I'd long known my role in this relationship, when reality slapped me in the face, I found I still couldn't bear it. My family does have that intention, it's a win-win deal, after all. But the final decision rests with me. He turned his head to look at me, his bottomless smile almost soothing. Since we're calling it a deal, do you really think I'd be foolish enough to sell myself? I frantically averted my gaze. Then why did you admit it when I asked that day? He casually picked up the cigarette pack to his right, his long fingers pausing midway before the cigarette before pressing it back down. He lifted his eyes to meet mine, his voice low and husky. To tease you. I stared at him in disbelief. So all this drama was just to tease me? Was this how the rich played their games? We're here. Find a place to wait for me. With that, he left me his dashing silhouette and the keys to his Ferrari. Maybe I should just drive off. I admit I wanted to run, but someone had already gotten into the car and taken the driver's seat without invitation. I've always heard Valor and his secretary had a special relationship. Seeing it today, it's certainly true. I smiled faintly, saying nothing. Evelyn flashed a sweet smile, looking quite approachable. No need to be embarrassed. Truth is, situations like yours are common. After all, CEOs and secretaries aren't exactly rare. But since our two companies are pursuing a power alliance, we'd prefer Miss Angelina to understand her place. Honestly, I'm doing this for your own good. Financially, everything becomes joint property after marriage. Without my consent, you won't get a single penny, and you'll be saddled with the reputation of being the other woman. You're better off finding someone else while you're still young. She possessed an innate arrogance and confidence. Even as every word she spoke stung my pride, she remained utterly unfazed. Seeing my silence, she appeared perfectly composed, the quintessential mistress meeting the wife. Actually, I know a wealthy man who could absolutely meet your needs. He's a bit older, but if you're interested, I could introduce you. What do you think? She smiled at me, yet it felt like a smile hiding a dagger. Her aura was so powerful I struggled to hold my ground. Her barrage of remarks left me flustered, momentarily speechless. Regaining my composure, I adopted the calm professionalism I used at work and replied methodically, I believe Miss Evelyn may have misunderstood. I've been with Valor for 5 years. Though we haven't made it public, he's been mine alone for those 5 years. So, yes, we are boyfriend and girlfriend. Besides, you're not even engaged yet, let alone married. A mistress isn't exclusive to marriage. In any relationship, whoever comes later is the third party. She seemed to reevaluate me, her smile still in place. We're getting engaged on the 25th. We'll discuss marriage at the engagement party. And legally, a third party only exists within marriage. It doesn't apply to your little romantic squabbles. But people should have decency and integrity, I said, raising an eyebrow slightly as I locked eyes with her. Especially someone with Miss Evelyn's background, she should care about her reputation more than anyone. She nodded. That's exactly why I came to you. A wise man knows when to retreat. The car fell silent. Tension hung in the air, war lurking behind every word. Valor offered me $5 million to stay by his side. How much can you give me? I laid my cards on the table. She visibly flinched, but quickly regained her polite demeanor. I can introduce you to countless men who could afford to give you 5 million. Then why would I need you? With my looks and 5 years of connections, I could find them myself. Just as Evelyn opened her mouth, the driver's door suddenly swung open. We both froze. Valor's tall figure stood in the doorway. Evelyn glanced at me, then stepped out with grace. I hope you don't mind me getting in without asking. You should ask her that, Valor said calmly, bypassing Evelyn and sliding into the driver's seat. The door slammed shut behind him. He swiftly buckled his seatbelt and started the car. Through the rearview mirror, I watched Evelyn stand frozen in place for a long time. She remained there, staring at the car, until she disappeared from view. He hadn't spoken a word the entire time. I knew he must have heard my last remark. She said you two are getting engaged on the 25th. Impossible, he replied, his voice firm and decisive. She told me to leave you, I said, studying his expression through the mirror. She also said she'd set me up with a rich old man. More than what she said, I'd like to know how you responded. His tone was flat, yet the car suddenly accelerated. I knew he was angry. But I felt that if I actually told him my answer, he'd be even angrier, maybe even cause an accident. I started changing the subject. Slow down, or I'll report you to the traffic police. After dropping me off, he showed no intention of leaving. Instead, he plopped down on the sofa and started reading a book, looking perfectly at ease. Ah. It's getting dark. It's getting dark. I exaggeratedly looked out the window, trying to grab his attention. Sure enough, he glanced outside. It's fine. Then he went back to his book. I was speechless. I had no choice but to spill everything. I told her I could find an old man on my own. I even said you gave me 5 million, and if she could offer more, I'd leave you. That's it? His tone dripped with contempt. What else could I say? Thanks to you, I looked like the mistress confronting the wife in front of her. He caught me off guard, snatching my hand and pulling me onto his lap. Before I could react, one hand was trapped in his palm, my waist held firmly against his body, completely immobilized. He brushed his chin lightly against my forehead twice, his gaze settling on my lips. Do you really think you are? I don't know. His scorching kiss came out of nowhere, utterly unreasonable. His tongue darted entangled with mine, ignoring my struggles as he greedily drew out every drop of sweetness. After a long moment, he released me, his voice hoarse. Still think you are? Then we should. Before I could fully breathe in the fresh air, he forced me again. His insatiable look, like gentle spring breezes, stirred my heartstrings. Are you? Lying in his arms, I shook my head blankly. No, he smiled with satisfaction, his eyes brimming with affection, shining like stars in the night sky. My cheeks flushed crimson. He gazed at me. You never will be. So, you're finally giving me a proper title? He chuckled softly, then pressed his lips to mine again, a fleeting kiss like a dragonfly skimming water. When did I ever deny it? I've left marks all over your neck, yet you tell your co-workers you have a masochistic streak. If anyone lacks a proper title, it's me, isn't it? Huh? I blinked blankly. So that's how he saw it. We've been misunderstanding each other all this time. He helped me up, then rested his head gently on my shoulder, holding me close as his voice softened. When will you finally take me out to meet people? I smiled. Besides, let go of me first. I need to use the restroom. His expression suddenly darkened as if something occurred to him. Seeing his look, I suddenly remembered vomiting in his arms yesterday. My face flushed as red as a monkey's butt. I dashed to the bathroom, splashed water on my face to cool down, and tried to calm myself. When I emerged, he was already half undressed. Oh my. If I don't go for it now, what kind of woman am I? A night of passion. The next morning, I dragged my exhausted body out of bed, while he headed off to work refreshed and alert. Since I was unemployed anyway, I called Joyce out again to kill time. You two made up? She asked, wide-eyed. I nodded, sipping my caramel macchiato with a fork and grinning triumphantly. And this time it's different. Before, we were lovers. Now, I'm his girlfriend. So you finally got what you wanted. Joyce looked utterly gobsmacked, but then suddenly remembered something and turned anxious. But I heard Valor hired a new secretary recently. Aren't you worried? Another one? When? He hadn't found anyone yesterday. Joyce sipped her wine, speaking slowly. I heard the secretary started today. Should you go check out the competition at the office? I pondered for a moment. Nah, that'd be petty. But I hear this secretary has quite the background. She was the mistress of another company's general manager before. Then his wife found out, and that's why she left. Joyce truly lived up to her reputation as the gossip queen of the secretary world. She knew better than anyone which CEOs had affairs with their secretaries. I took another bite of dessert. She must have made a fortune off it. Made money? Not a single penny. Joyce sighed with disapproval. He had a wife and kids, 2 of them, actually. The oldest was already 18. When his wife sued, she didn't get a dime. She even had to return every penny he'd given her during their affair. That's pretty rough for her, I remarked. Indeed, meddling in other people's marriages was no joke. Not only could it land you in legal trouble, but you might end up paying back every penny you'd taken. Well, people who deserve pity usually have something hateful about them. Who told her to mess with someone else's relationship? Oh, and I heard after she quit, she applied to a few companies where the bosses were either unmarried or divorced. I suspect she's got her sights set on your Valor this time. I took a sip of my coffee, black, no sugar, no milk, its bitterness jolting me awake. Normal. Any woman with ambition would find Valor attractive. Does that sound like you're bragging? Joyce teased, watching me. Of course not. Because my husband is incredibly handsome, I declared, pulling out a marriage certificate from my bag. I hadn't planned to confront his new secretary so soon, but she had the audacity to show up at Valor's place. Luckily, I happened to be home. Valor and I sat side by side on the sofa while she stood nearby. Hello, Miss Angelina. I'm Milan, the CEO's secretary. Nice name, I said, leaning back lazily on the sofa. She certainly took the hint. My mother named me. She gave birth to me while on a business trip in Milan. It was incredibly difficult, so she chose this name. Your mother endured such hardship to bring you into this world just so you could wreck someone else's marriage? I shot Valor a glance. He spoke up. No one asked you about that. Focus on your work and keep your mouth shut. Yes, sir. She nodded obediently. Then she pulled out a document. I forgot to give you this yesterday after work. I came today just to deliver it. Sorry for interrupting your day off, President. Forgot? More like on purpose. One more lapse like this and you can leave. He pulled me into his arms, turned on the TV to the financial news, and Milan instantly became the third wheel. I won't disturb you further, President. Goodbye. Ignored, she gave an awkward smile and turned to leave the room. The moment the door closed, I swiftly knocked Valor's hand off my shoulder. He silently turned to look at me. What's wrong? Nothing. My gaze remained fixed on the TV. He nodded, then draped his arm over my shoulder again. I flicked it off with a sharp snap and shifted slightly to the side, creating a bit of distance between us. He froze for a few seconds. What's wrong? Nothing. My tone was calm as I returned to watching TV. He moved closer, tentatively placing his hand on my shoulder again. Only after confirming I showed no reaction did his hand fully settle there. Seeing my chance, I grabbed his arm, twisted it hard, then flicked his entire arm away with a sharp snap. Ah, he yelped in pain. Are you mad? No, are you mad? Didn't you hear me say no? He looked at me. I watched the show. Beep. He turned off the TV with the remote, finally finding his opening. My pent-up anger surged like a tsunami, Why'd you turn off my TV? He looked innocent. I wanted to talk to you. Talk about what? What gives you the right to turn off my TV? I glared at him fiercely, ready to devour him. He seemed startled by my intensity. Before, I was his subordinate, obeying his every command without question. I'd never lost my temper like this. Answer me. Why did you turn off my TV? Don't you know that's rude? Beep. He turned the TV back on. Why did you turn it back on? Are you crazy? We're in the middle of an argument and you just go and turn the TV back on? Have you lost your mind? My anger flared even more. He looked at me with an innocent expression, holding the remote control, unsure whether to turn it off or leave it on. He hesitated, like a child being scolded by a parent. Speak up. Why are you just staring at me? What gives you the right to turn off my TV? What gives you the right to turn it back on in the middle of an argument? Do you even care about me at all? I leapt up from the couch, hands on hips like a shrew, fuming. He gently tugged my shirt hem, trying to pull me back down. I wasn't having it, I just pulled my shirt off. He looked at the jacket in his hand, then at me. Why are you so mad? Is the TV switch poisonous? Do you seriously think this is just about the TV remote? I gritted my teeth. He placed his hand over his lips, pressing it lightly against his nose as if deep in thought. Then he looked at me with sudden seriousness, and the remote control. Forget it. This guy traded his emotional intelligence for raw intellect. What's the deal with that Milan? He seemed to instantly grasp the reason behind my inexplicable rage. You went through all this trouble, scheming to pick a fight with me, just because of her? Well, he finally figured it out. But no way was I admitting it, Valor. We've been together for 5 years. Is that how petty I am in your eyes? Yep, that's exactly how petty I am. He shifted uncomfortably. I didn't mean it like that. I shook my head, channeling my inner drama queen, eyes brimming with tears. I'm so disappointed. I never thought you'd look at me like that over a woman you just met. No, I just thought you seemed off today, so I wanted to ask if you didn't like her. He explained himself in a few sentences. Potential CEO secretary material. I'm no pushover either, I get it. I totally get it. What do you understand? He asked, looking confused. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I understand everything. What do you understand? I opened my eyes, adopting a world-weary expression. I understand everything. Then what exactly do you understand? I admit, watching Valor look utterly baffled made me want to burst out laughing countless times. Just come clean about everything between you two. I know everything now. No need to hide it from me anymore. I bluffed. He looked like he was about to break. What between us? What do you know? Why don't I know? I stared at him calmly. He stared back at me blankly. Confirmed, they haven't had any inappropriate relationship so far. It's nothing. I was overthinking. You go ahead. I made to leave, but he yanked me into his arms. His brows furrowed deeply as he stared at me intently. What exactly do you know? Ha. I couldn't hold it in. My husband was just too adorable. What are you laughing at? I pouted, batting my big eyes at him silently. I've already cleared things up with Evelyn. If you don't like this new secretary, just replace her. He regained his usual composed demeanor. I played innocent. I never said I disliked her. If you want to replace her, go ahead. If not, don't. It's none of my business. He glanced at his wristwatch. Then let's wait until the next secretary arrives before letting her go. The company's been pretty busy lately. I performed a Peking opera-style face change. Oh, right. Please don't replace her. How could such a busy man like you manage without someone by your side? Keep her here, best if she stays forever. With that, I stomped hard on his foot, stood up, walked to the door, and opened it, all in one fluid motion. I'm sorry. I turned back in shock. Valor apologizing? Was he trying to appease me? Why was my heart pounding like this? He walked over, one arm around my waist. Sweetheart, don't be angry. His other hand stroked my face, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. His voice was soft and mesmerizing. Getting upset hurts your body. It breaks your husband's heart. My face was burning. My heart was pounding like crazy. My lips were captured by his again. 2 years later. Honey, I heard you're planning to hire a female nanny. I lay on his abs, eating ice cream. You're pregnant. A female nanny will be more convenient. I sat up smoothly, tears welling in my eyes as I looked at him. I get it. I understand everything. Understanding won't help you. He suddenly pinned me beneath him, gently licking my earlobe. Angelina, don't think I don't know. Under the pretense of me avoiding women, you hired over 20 male models as caregivers. I instantly turned my face away. Oh no, he'd caught me. I just thought young people deserved more opportunities, Valor. We've been married 2 years, do I really seem like some lustful creature to you? Aren't you? I started to protest, but met those eyes brimming with affection. Aren't you? Well, I am. A wave of sensuality engulfed us, the air thick with pink bubbles. Life goes on. The drama queen wife and her handsome, wealthy, clueless husband will live happily ever after. More dramatic love stories coming. Subscribe if you're into this kind of mess. Tell us what kind of story you would like to watch.